Hi, and welcome to another Craft with Kat. This is the unicorn part 2 of the Piñata tutorial. If you want to see the first one, make sure you hit the link below and watch that to make your base. Here's the first one I made off camera just to make sure I got the tutorial down pat. I loved how it turned out. Everything is super cute. Love every single detail on it. It was a little time consuming, but it was totally worth it. All in all, I think I spent about 2.5 hours. I will show you how to make your very own. We'll go through every detail. I'll fast forward through the process because it did take quite a while, so I limit it to half the amount of time. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So here's the one we had made together. In all the strips, I had given you all the measurements in the previous video, so make sure you watch that for the measurements. So we're going to start by adding glue in the interior part of the leg so we can add the gold across the hoof of the horse or the unicorn. I'm just using hot glue. Make sure you do it on a surface that you don't mind getting glue because it will get everywhere. And I'll show you here that you want to make sure you pinch around the corners or the edges. That way it does a very clean, crisp corner. And just go ahead and add it all around and do that same with the next one. And because there are two parts, you want to make sure you add the seam on the inside of the leg. That way you don't see it. Make sure you repeat that with the second leg as well. Now that you have both legs finished, it's time to add the trim that we cut from the previous video, and you're going to add it starting at the side of the unicorn or the front facing you. That way the seam is on the side that you're not really going to notice, and you want the little trim to go over the hoofs just a tiny bit. That way it covers up the rough edge on the sides, and you're going to start from the bottom heading towards the top of the unicorn. You're going to go ahead and stop when you reach the chin of the unicorn or the neck, and I'll show you what you do from there. So now that you've done that part, it's time that we add the little tail to it. So to add the tail, basically what I did is I just cut strips of tissue paper in different colors and I stapled them all together, and we're going to glue them to the base of the tail. Add quite a bit of glue. You could use hot glue to make sure it's nice and secure. And then we're going to go ahead and continue with the trim. We're going to add a piece of trim right on top to cover up the staple, and also again to just make it seamless. So just right on top. And again, we're starting from the bottom heading towards the tip of the ears. Now that you've added the trim all along the spine of the unicorn, you're going to go ahead and glue it along the edges to glue down the excess. And that way you don't just trim it, because if you trim it, I feel like the edges would be really rough. And you're just going to glue them down and add more trim on top. Now you'll want to work on the front part of the unicorn, again working from the bottom heading towards the tip of the ears. Now that you have that finished, you just want to glue the edges down on the sides of the unicorn. Okay, so we're almost there. We're gonna go ahead and fill in the empty space that's left, where it's the face of the unicorn and the last remaining part of the body. So you're just gonna cut pieces and just try to make it as seamless as possible. Again, working from the bottom, heading towards the top. And you will do that for both sides. Now that the base trim is finished, it's time to go ahead and decorate our unicorn. I'm going to start off by using this little pink trim to add along the edge of the unicorn. I think it looks really cute. It makes it look almost like a carriage horse. And I'm going to add that starting at the bottom of the unicorn and going just around and adding glue here and there just to secure it. And I'm also going to add it to the face to add kind of like a, you know, what are those things called? A bridle? Yep, that's what it's called. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but yes, it's a bridle or a brittle or whatever. Now that that is finished, it's time to add the little face to the unicorn. I'm going to be using some eyelashes that I cut with my Cricut, and then these cute little cheeks that I just punched out of tissue paper. I was deciding whether I wanted bigger eyelashes, but I ended up going with the smaller just because I think it looks cuter. And you're just going to go ahead and glue those on. Make sure they're not too high up because otherwise it's going to get covered by the flower crown and the mane. Now that that is finished, we're going to go ahead and add the embellishments on the hip of the unicorn. My friend Anne, hi Anne, told me to add a little personalized touch, and I think that was a super cute idea. So I'm going to add an A and a little star to the hip, and I think that looks really cute. I'm also going to add a cute little bow to the tail of the unicorn. I think it just looks super cute and very girly. Okay, now we're going to move on to making the horn for our unicorn. So remember that little triangle piece I had told you about in the first video? We're going to go ahead and put that together by adding glue on one edge and curling it in on itself to make a little cone. And I just trimmed it a tiny bit so it secures really well on the base of the unicorn. Add some glue and just pop it on there. Now we're gonna move on to adding the mane to our unicorn. We're just gonna add a strip of glue on the top and we're just gonna alternate colors. I chose a mint green, a light pink, a blue, and then an iridescent kind of purple color. And I think it looks really cute. Just keep on adding them and add a layer on top of that as well to add a pretty little mane. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to adding the flowers for our flower crown. I chose a white, a coral, and a blue, and I think it just goes really well with the color choices that I use for the rest of the unicorn. And we're just gonna alternate starting at the horn and moving once it reaches towards the mane. So you're gonna use a total of 6 flowers. These ones I attained from Hobby Lobby, and they were pretty cheap. They were 50% off, and they're in the bridal decor area. Alright, she's almost finished. Now we're just going to go ahead and add a little bit more white trim on top of the mane. That way you don't see all the glue that you added on there. I just cut a couple strips and just glued it right on top on one edge just because the other edge is perfectly fine and it's going to be covered anyways. And that's it, guys. She is finished. I just love how she turned out. She's almost even better than the first one that I made. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.